So let me start this episode by asking you two questions. So my first question is, what if I told you that no matter places you are in life, as long as you have yourself, as long as you have your skills, as long as you have your brain, you would be fine? And my second question is, what will you do today if you know that it would be your last day? What would really matter to you? Actually, this one is a question I learned in one of the podcasts I was looking, I think, beginning of this week, about Steve Jobs. I think in the interview, he's quite in his late 40s or 50s, and he said it's a question that I've been heard, 20 or 30 years ago, and I've been asking me every single day while I was waking up. And it was this question: what will you do if today you know it was going to be your last day? What would really matter to you in that position? I'm asking you. So I'm starting this podcast by asking you these two questions. And why I'm doing this, it's because what I want to show you and what I want to do in this episode is, no matter what is going into your life at this moment or at any moment, no matter what fires you are going through, what hard time you might having, what if I told you that there is a way where you can access actually this state in your life where, with all of these things that are happening, with everything that can go wrong, there is that voice in your head that say, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be fine. Because most people wake up every single day negotiating their existence already, and they would adjust to a certain situation, they would soften, they would delay the thing they have to do, they would just put it not as a priority right now, or they just take this habit to explain, or just this bad habit to actually ask for permission before doing anything, before they take that first step, before they take any step basically in their life. But the truth is that nobody will tell you explicitly that you are not allowed to do something, because you're not a child anymore. So it's it's more subtle than this. Sometimes you might even not ask for permission, but you might see in the looks of people, or the raised eyebrow that you did something that might go wrong, the silence that you might feel when you share something, and you just start going to feel maybe uncomfortable, and you're not gonna be good with yourself. So you're gonna be in this position of vulnerability, and slowly, without even realizing it, you would kind of let this decision making, this process, being the hand of other people and not really take care of anything. You're never gonna express this feeling. And the real truth is that life to live does not require authorization. If you have the code, if you got the education, if you know what you can do and not, you know your standards without asking for permission. So hi, this is Emma. Welcome to a new episode of KN Talks for this week. So today, I already did my little intro, so I think you got a little bit the topic of today, but I want to talk about something that most people never really consciously decide, yet is going to define their entire life. And it's the idea of living without permission. So if you think about it, from a very young age, we are conditioned to be acceptable, to grow up according to certain value, according to certain things, to be reasonable, to be agreeable, to be kind of in any social environment. And there is this moment somewhere along the way, we confuse this idea of being loved with being approved of. But that's the breaking point. And this is where you need to understand that there is a difference with knowing the manners, knowing the good forms, being polite in certain situations, and asking for authorization constantly. Because people that ask for authorization, people that follows, they don't lead. And the truth and the fact is that you don't need to please everyone. As long as you got yourself, your small circle of people, that's basically all you need. No matter what happens, you will be fine. There are 1 billion people on this planet, so it's kind of really okay if some people are not liking you, are not liking the way you're doing things, understanding you, they feel very different than you. It's really fine, and you really need to start in 2026, no matter where you are in your life, in the part of your life, to be kind of good with your own self. Because you're gonna die with yourself. You spending so much time in your life with your own self as well, and know the people that look like you. Know the people that have the same energy than you. You don't need to be liked by the entire planet. If someone is liking you, like, don't start to lose that time to, don't use your energy. Don't drain you out for these people to like you, because no matter what happens, you will be fine. Like, this person is not going to have any impact on your life, or at least don't let her have any impact on your life, first of all. Because the truth is, you're actually a grown human being with a brain, with your own limits, with your full set of skills, and with all of that thing that you have in your hand, you will be fine. I promise you. And my goal in this video, and what I'm doing this podcast this week, is really to give you the same mindset that I have used from the last year of my life, while, I have been traveling by myself, or, while moving like to new job opportunity, while moving like to the other side of the world, like in Japan and stuff, where like places where I didn't even know the language of the country, while I changed environment drastically. And this is that kind of mindset that really always puts me out of situation, always push me to do more, always challenge me to go forward, and really don't care in all the moments of my life of what people could think about me, or if I have to ask like this decision before doing something. No, because there is this moment between, the age where you're not a child anymore and you kind of not an adult anymore, and you're kind of in between situation. So you don't really know what you're allowed to, you don't really know like the manner yet, you're still in a junior position in your career, or maybe you're starting your career and you're like, so you don't really have like this kind of authority and this kind of leadership that kind of comes with experience and with time and management and all the things that you need to deal with, and that can be hard to deal with. What you need to understand is really protect your intimacy, protect your small circle, because this is what really ground you and what is really important to you. And what you need to remember is, no matter what's going on in your life, as long as you have yourself, you good. Literally, you can survive. You can survive whatever you're going through. And there is actually this quote of the French philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre that says something very beautiful and very true, is the man is condemned to be free. So whether you want it or not, you are responsible. And not choosing, it's still a choice. Don't lie to yourself. Not choosing, it's still a choice. Not acting on things is still a decision. There is right now actually the trailer. I don't know if you see it. I think the movie is going out, I don't know, maybe this week, maybe it was out 1 day ago, but I don't know. But the last week I saw this trailer going on, and they did like this kind of like promotion before the movie, and it's Couture with Angelina Jolie. And there is also like Louis Garrel, a French actor that whatever. There's a French actor also in it. The movie is happening in Paris. I want to share this example because actually the movie is starting, the trailer at least, because I didn't see the movie, but it's starting with this sentence of Angelina Jolie that asks something that is very true for this episode. Do you think we are responsible for what happened to us? And I think that's a beautiful way to reflect on the idea of living without permission. There is no right or wrong answer to this question, but it illustrates very well the idea that not choosing, it's still a choice that you make. Letting life happen, it's still a choice. And sometimes your decision, your power of decision could have an influence on your future life. Most of the time, by the way. I mean, I do believe sometimes like there is destiny or something, but I do believe you also the one that going to create, and you are like the creator of the snowball effect. You want something to happen in your life, plant seeds first, start to create things, start to make things in a process. And this is this idea that letting life happen without making any decision is still a choice at the end of the day, at the end of everything. And indeed, why also I do this video is because I realize it's actually a lot of people spend their lives pretending they had no alternative. Most of the time you talk with people and oh yeah, but this happened to me, so I cannot do that, or I'm feeling it's too cold today, so I'm not gonna go to run, or they always like pretending they had no other alternative, or like they had no choice, like they had no option, like they were trapped into something. And I know for some people, like some people have such hard life, and go through so much hard things, and it can be so hard. But most of the time when you look at these people, they are actually the ones that are the most courageous at the end of the day, and they are the ones that are working so hard and have so beautiful ideas and are so creative as well. Most of the time, the people that are complaining the most, or that say okay, circumstances decided for them, are some kind of pretty lucky people as well. And sometimes you can find yourself in this situation. Like sometimes I find myself in this situation, I'm like, oh no, I'm too lazy to do this, or I have my period or whatever, and I'm like, no, you are so lucky compared to so many people in this world. You have so much opportunities that are on your way, that, just the fact to be healthy, just the fact to have the possibility to have a brain that is working well, to have these skills that maybe some other people didn't have, to have this energy. I'm like, don't lose it. And living without permission is the moment you stop lying to yourself about that, and about saying that circumstances decided for you and you basically had no choice in your life. It's not about being completely reckless or having no notion about everything, or being, I need to be the rebellious one and always against everything. And it's not about rejecting everything and be rude to everyone, or rejecting everyone, or doing the things completely differently than everyone and say, okay, I don't like the society, it's not made for me or anything. It's not about this at all. It's really about just authorship of your life. It's about deciding that you are the one that's holding the pen. You are the one that is writing the story, your own story. As a child, you're growing up, and society starts to dictate the majority of your decision, basically, which makes sense because you're still a child, so it makes sense. Of course, you need to have role models and a certain authority to be able to understand the world, and to be able to understand the limits of the world, and what you're allowed to do, what you're kind of not allowed. You have to understand the society rules, that it's applicable for everyone, to able everyone to live in society, basically. So as growing up, sometimes you're slowly taught to live by permission. Part of your education first, and then part of course, society rules. However, what you need to be cautious with, it's as you grow as an adult, don't let the society and social norms dictate all your decisions. And that you obey about things or do things without questioning anything. Because if you don't question anything that's going on, if you're not questioning if maybe this position might be good for you, if it's really a good fit for you, if you really want to do that in life, if you study that inspire you and make you feel great or give you ideas, or if you don't ask you any question, if accepting everything but not reading it, then you just, without realizing it, you're going to adapt for everyone and just to fit in the thing and not really take any big decisions. And just kind of being into this half thing where you satisfied but you're not really happy, and you're kind of gonna carry that conditioning with you into adulthood, where kind of other people have decided for you your entire life. So you're kind of taking this pattern into your adulthood, and let the things being decided for you all the time, and still waiting for approval to things, still really operating inside boundaries you never consciously choose for yourself. And eventually you start to do it to yourself, being outsourcing permission, relying on other people for validation all the time, for direction, for approval, for your group of friends. Super toxic to be in this group of friends that you just follow, and you feel different but you try to fit in no matter what. And no, because you need to be fully yourself. It's okay to be different. It's actually much better than to be like everybody else. Just know your strength, know your weakness. It's completely fine to have weakness, because actually your strength in life, it's to leverage on your strength and to use your weakness to make it strength at the end. So things that really make you deep as a person and make you a person. In fact, that people recognize it's you, and you are the only one that have this fire inside anyway. So don't start to, shrink into roles, or, to feel this feeling of being acceptable. That to have a certain identity, or, this title in your social circle, the frat guy or the nerd, or the labels that just make things easier to understand for other people. And because before you would even realizing is, you would no longer asking who you are. You would kind of lose your identity and who you allowed to be. So that's why when you do this, you kind of start to really be less autonomous and less free and let people decide for you. And you become really needy and you become really dependent on other people, on your job, or rather than just being independent. Also because like instead of trusting yourself and instead of trusting your own judgment and trusting your own system guidance, you would always look for opinions of others, their advices. But the truth is, once you can access this full reliance on yourself, you would know that you are in complete control and that you are powerful of your own decision. You would really be the author of your own reality. And again, like no matter what happens, no matter the environment, no matter the circumstances, as long as you have you're okay, you're fine. And I want to talk to you about one of my favorite philosophers. This is Hannah Arendt. I don't remember if you have seen other of my episodes. She studied a lot in Europe because we actually study her work when we first in philosophy classes, first of all, but also a lot when we are studying history and totalitarianism, and wrote a lot about human condition. She was really always hopeful on the human nature and human capability. And something very interesting she talked about is actually the courage to appear, to exist. And what I mean through this episode, Living Without Permission, is like she talked about the courage to exist as who you are publicly. And honestly, the power, the ability, the capacity to appear how you are really and like really show that to the world, it takes a lot of courage. I have to tell you, it takes a lot of courage. It's not that easy because especially while you're growing up as an adult, then you need to act according to certain things and not do certain things. And you cannot be like 100% yourself, especially most of the time in professional environments. And also, you know, when I'm talking in this episode about the idea of asking for permission, it's also applied, you know, that sense like the courage to appear. The moment in life, the moment when you stop asking for permission or when you're not dependent on certain people, certain resistance might start to appear because people will question you why you are not doing the same thing than everybody else, why you are, you know, they will sometimes misunderstand you, the way you are doing things, if you are doing things a bit different than them. And they might project their fears into your choices. And some of them will kind of like try to guilt you into returning to who you are. And that's why it takes a lot of courage to have this opposition of doing things without asking the approval of your friend, the approval of maybe your husband, the approval of your partner, the approval of your family, the approval of your mom. Sometimes it's to go to the other side of the world. Sometimes it's to go like to do a certain kind of job sometimes, you know. And most of the time, these people just want to help you to maybe indicate you to like maybe things better, or because they might be afraid a little bit for you because it's actually, of course, requires maybe a lot of more risk. And sometimes this resistance could be to protect you. But that's why you really need to have this capacity to just like question the world and question the direction when you want to go. And if you're someone with this fire into you, just let it go right through it, just, you know. And I'm thinking also about French philosopher Simone de Beauvoir, and she wrote, actually the most dangerous form of oppression is the one that you internalize when you start censoring yourself. And living without permission really means also unlearning that reflex. You know, it means accepting that being misunderstood is not a failure. It's often a sign that you are not living on borrowed belief or maybe a certain reality that was not corresponding to the person you were. And it's actually a sign that starts with radical self-honesty with yourself. You know, with the capability of auditing yourself and auditing and noticing like maybe you're not at the right place at the right time in your life anymore. And, you know, and you're still asking for permission because you kind of like stuck into a reality that might not be your reality, and where you're relying on other people to think for you, which can be very dangerous. So think about it. every time you're faced with a big decision. Maybe it could be moving abroad, moving to a new city, changing jobs, taking a risk, how quickly actually do you run to someone to ask, should I do that? Should I not? A parent, I don't know, a friend, your best friend, a sibling. How fast do you go to this person and say, what do you should do? What do you think? And listen, I'm not saying it's not good to ask for advice. Asking for advice is not the problem. The problem is skipping your own voice entirely. That's when the problem starts, is never stopping to ask yourself what you think before outsourcing the answer to someone else. To your parents, to just sometimes to Google, sometimes to ChatGPT. You can spend your entire day talking to ChatGPT, asking what you should do with your life, if you are going in the right direction, if it's the good business idea you're doing right now. But you think you're productive by doing this, but then you're actually really not, because you're not putting anything in place. So yeah, it can be productive, but until a certain time. And for this certain time to be productive, you need to hear yourself. Because the step, the action, you are the only one that are going to be able to make the action. So don't ask to anyone willing to decide for you first. You can ask for advice. You can ask your best friend stuff but has a second opinion, because over time, if you constantly outsourcing the question to someone else, you would feel disconnected for your own judgment. You would really stop exercising your ability to think critically. And this is in this process that it would really start to make you feel powerless some way. And sometimes it shows up as a dependence to people while you grow up, or, to an attachment to external or some things, but at the end, inside you, it's kind of disconnected from you. These kind of things outside of you that will start to really define your sense of maybe safety and just worth, which should be really defined by your capacity to be free and to be independent, and you have your own thoughts and your capability to think as a human being. And that's the only way you're going to be able to really know your truth and know what is really important to you. You need to start reading books. You need to start seeing life how it really is, and being the one that taking decision and have the courage to take decision for your entire life. And awareness is really the first step on this. Catching yourself in that moment and really realizing, I don't trust myself to decide. So the shift in this situation is simple. The next time you feel the urge to run to someone, to ask to someone else before you should do something, pause, breath, and ask yourself first. It's really easy. I mean, I'm saying it's really easy, but it's really not, because we tend to really have this habit of first consulting someone or calling someone, or, and this is okay, but just task. I'm the author of my life. I want to also take decision for myself. I have a knowledge of the world. I have knowledge of my family, of the people around me, how it could impact them also if you're taking, of course, a big decision. So pause and think about it, and just ask yourself first. But it doesn't mean that you're not gonna ask others for advice later on, but just give yourself the space to answer honestly to you first. And if you still want some input after that, it's completely fine. But just start from ownership, not avoidance. And living without permission means taking responsibility for your life in real ways. Trying new things because you want it. Building routines that are not dependent on your friend's schedule or maybe their expectation. I just had one of my really good friends on the phone right before doing this episode, and this is really, and we had this talk and stuff, and she's telling me about her life in Paris, and she's a really brilliant person. She's in the process of passing some very hard exam right now. But next to this, she also has a modeling project, and she's someone with a really creative. She travels, she also spent some time, some month last year in Australia as a personal experience. And right when she went back to Paris, she went to work and at the same time study. So I have a lot of respect for her. And it was just telling, I didn't tell anyone, but next to what I'm doing, I had this hobby when I was little where I was registering these songs on GarageBand and stuff, and it was really something I love to do. And I just remember this, and I have all that, and I came back to my parents this weekend. I just saw in my old room all these materials of micro and stuff. And I just want to pick it. So I just call someone and ask if I could maybe do some classes with him next to it. And she just started, and she was, I might want to maybe like do an album later on in the future. And I told her, I respect you so much for this, because it could be so hard, especially in big cities, like, you know, when you are living in Paris or this kind of, I call them big cities, small cities, because it feels it's a big city, but you can do kind of everything by walking everywhere. So you always run into someone, and it's so nice for this. But then when you have free time and you're not working, you constantly maybe like want to see people and stuff, and you forgot the thing that you have when you were more little, of having like your own hobbies and your own sports and stuff, and something you might lose when you're an adult because you might not take really the time to do it. But it's so good to have the independence and the will to just take the thing for yourself, you know, pick up this new challenge, pick up this new hobby, change maybe a bit direction. She didn't ask for anyone. It's kind of something she kept for herself. So that's a really key question here. It's, who are you getting permission, you know, from to live your life now that you're an adult? And living without permission really means choosing truth over belonging. This feeling of not being loved because you're doing something that can be different from the norms, or that doesn't meet the expectation of the people around you, that might really be kind of lonely. But remember that loneliness with integrity is lighter than belonging to something built on self-betrayal, because living into something that is not you and that you don't feel really good and stuff, at some point is gonna eat you in your life, and you're gonna go back to the same path direction where you took like the wrong path because you were following the thing to fit into the thing rather than the path that would lead you to what really means to be you. Marcus Aurelius, one of the emperor of the Roman Empire, an intellectual and a Stoic philosopher, and he says something that would really relate to you, and think about it before doing something or going to ask for something, or, you know, like just following something that might not fit you in the right moment. They say, if it's not right to you, do not do it. And if it's not true, do not say it. And when he say this, he literally never mentioned approval, you know, because approval has nothing to do with virtue. You know, we live in a time where external validation is really everywhere, especially through maybe social opinions, likes, comparison, who is doing what or whatever. But if you're not really careful, at some point you end up living in a life that looks good from the outside, but feels very empty on the inside. And that also another why I'm doing this episode, but living without permission means like listening like inward and before reacting outward. And it means trusting your inner compass even when it contradicts expectation of others. So you don't really need permission to change your mind. You don't need permission to walk away from what no longer aligns with you. It's completely okay. And living without permission, careful, because it's also come back to my first point in this episode, but it means taking responsibility on things. It's no victim mindset. It's no blaming, no waiting for rescue. It's you choose things, you act. You take responsibility of doing things for the consequences. And that's why other people like to live under other people and under some permission and under some restrictions, because they don't want to take the responsibility or assume the responsibility. But the more you grow up, the more responsibility you would have anyway. So if you like start young, to take this responsibility, to be into this routine, to, you know, start to build your own routine, start to build what really resonates with yourself. It's gonna make you grow so fast, and it's gonna be beneficial for you in the future and in the long run. So if you need to remember something of this episode, is start to ask yourself first before you go for the opinions or the judgment or the advice of other people. This is very important. This is always very important, to have contradiction in his own opinion and to have debate with someone about things, because it's also gonna make you grow and make you understand things. And it's always good to debate with people, but it's also very important to listen to your own voice, your inner guidance system. So living without permission is not something that is loud. It's really quiet. It's something that is steady. It's something that is intentional, something that is the fire that you have into you. And it's choosing yourself when no one is necessarily understanding what you are doing. It's standing firm, even when your doubts are showing up. This is what leaders in business, this is what CEO are doing. Even when they don't know, or someone is trying to sell you something, this is literally pretending something. It's the same in finance. No one can predict the financial market exactly what's gonna happen. You don't know, but some people are really good at telling you this is really good if you're following like Bitcoin or the crypto money, or in kind of like guru or like video that you would see on YouTube that would tell you a certain thing and like, oh yeah, you should buy when it's here, like you should. No one's really know, to be completely honest, and except if you are a really, really good mathematician, and even if you are really good at algorithm and quantum, and you cannot predict exactly the future and what's going to happen in the financial market. So, and it's the same into your life, and everyone has doubts about things. You cannot predict 100% what's going to happen. This is the thing with life. No one knows exactly his future. So, it's just asking you some questions. And sometimes it's just taking really the responsibility for yourself. And it's not dominating others. Really not. Strong people are not those who dominate people. And they are those who are capable of thinking by themselves. They are those that are able to take their own advice before asking for someone else, because they know they had to make decision on the moment as well. So, learn to also listen to this voice into you. And to close this episode, ask yourself why you are delaying your life out of fear, or putting your life in the hands of other people because you're fierce and stuff. Because the moment where you are going to stop asking for permission, it's where you're going to have really big changing into your life, and where your life at some point is going to expand, not all at once, because you don't need to make drastic changes, but just, start to reflect and think little by little, or when you just take these habits into your life, because your life really gonna start expanding. And as I'm saying, not all at once necessarily, but really directionally. And direction is everything. Once you have a direction, when you have, a focus, like people with objective, people with direction, especially if they are passionate about it, they would success like 2 times better than other people. For real. So I want to close this episode with a thought from Epictetus, and he said, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. So you don't need to announce your freedom, you need to live it, quietly, relentlessly, and without apology. Don't need any apology to the world for being who you are. So this is Emma, this is Karen Talks. Live without permission, because your life is not a request, it's a responsibility. Okay, anyway, so I hope this has helped you. This will maybe give you a little bit of more direction where you should act. So I love you. Thanks again for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, and kisses.